Hi guys, it's Ashley with the Candle Collective, and I'm bringing you a video today, which is a topic that I've seen quite a bit, shared amongst other small business owners, conversations that I've had a lot with other makers in town, and it's the topic around wholesale versus direct to consumer. And I wanted to share a little bit of insight based on numbers that I had put together from my results of last year and give you guys a bit more feedback and kind of proof behind what my strategy is as I move into the next few years with Upside, and share a little bit about what works, what doesn't, and my school of thought behind it, in hopes that that might help you. If you're new to my channel, my name is Ashley. I am a serial entrepreneur. I like to make businesses, and thankfully I get to keep them going. And I have been sharing along with you guys on this channel my journey in starting a candle business and taking you guys along with me to share my business wherewithal and strategy and marketing and all the things that I've picked up along the way from an educational background and experience background, and really put it into context in my own right with what I've been doing for my candle business, and hopefully you can relay it to yours in whatever industry that is. So for today's purposes, what I want to talk about is the wide world of wholesale, direct to consumer, e-commerce, all of those things kind of combined into one. And what sparked this conversation, or this thought in my mind and conversation with you guys now on this video, is one of the other makers that I follow actually was sharing how they are shifting all of their business to strictly wholesale. And while I'm certain that they have researched it and done what works for them, for me, it definitely incited a reaction in me that I was like, there's just no way that I would want to, or that I feel like that would be a good decision for me. And we have obviously apples and oranges, very different businesses, meaning that I have absolutely no idea what they do behind the scenes and what their 5-year goals are, 1-year goal is, anything like that. So giving a little context with that. And obviously I'm not going to name them because that would just be silly. But the conversation was around this idea of, is it worth it to run an e-commerce business, to be really working all of these muscles that we have, to do markets, to do direct to consumer sales, when really we could just be strategizing and working as kind of like the middleman and going through wholesale accounts and marketing and selling our business that way. Different ways that you can think about it. There's definitely different approaches that you have, and no two ways are the same for each individual person and their business. For today's video and for my business, I'm going to be sharing why that is not a direction that I'm going to be going. I did some number crunching because that's kind of my favorite, to get lost in analytics when the mood strikes. And I was going through the total amount of sales that I had last year. And while I'm not going to share like all dollars and cents with you guys, I would rather do percentages, because if you watch some of my other videos, I don't share what I made in a year, anything like that, because I feel like it can go really, really dark quick, the comparison, and it just steals joy from every direction, because there's no two businesses, like I said, are the same, and there's really no point in it. So the efforts in the direction that I am going is just sharing percentages and kind of like dicing up what my business did last year. As a whole, like the 100% piece of the pie of total sales that Upside Goods did, 68% of my total sales came from online sales. So that is a combination of e-commerce sales and point of sale sales. E-commerce being people going directly to my website, buying and me shipping or them picking up, and point of sale being markets, events, things of that nature, where people are coming and I am actually like exchanging, like giving them a candle, ringing them up. That's a point of sale. All of those are shelved under my Shopify. That is what I consider online sales. So both of those together were 68% of my total income of sales, total revenue of sales. 68%. 2% of my total sales last year came from custom orders. So those were things like custom tins that I made, things that I did for different events in the area, things that were more so offline, that weren't necessarily like just a ring up, easy cut and dry transaction, that there were some things behind the scenes, different prices attached to it, so on and so forth on that one. So only 2%. Wasn't a huge moneymaker for me, but nonetheless was a big deal, because that was really good for relationship building for me and getting my name out there into especially the different area, like regionally for me, brand awareness. 30% of my total revenue last year came from wholesale. And that was like a huge number for me. And I didn't actually set a goal last year for what I wanted to do in wholesale because I really didn't know where that was going to go. And I actually set a different goal last year for wholesale. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get into 25 different states of different wholesale accounts in 25 different states last year. And I think it was about April or May of last year that I was like, I'm not even going to come remotely close. Like, it's insulting how far from that goal I came. I think I was in like 3 different states last year. Because wholesale is a beast, and I don't have a type of item that does well where it's not regionally based. And so I hope you guys can hear me out on that. So let me see if I can explain this a little better. Also, Sabrina's getting shit done while I'm just sitting here, hopefully entertaining you guys. But the thing I'm trying to explain with my huge lofty goal that I was like, oh, I'm gonna get into 25 different states with 25 different accounts for wholesale, and why it completely smacked me in the face is because I don't have an extremely unique product. I think it's unique, obviously, and I think it's like my baby, and I love it so much. And while there's a mission and there's a story behind it and a very important why to me, it's very hard to communicate that and to convey that message to retailers and to brick and mortar shops that aren't connected to me in a way that either one, they know me personally, they know my story, or they know my business. And usually those connections need to be somewhat geographically connected in order to make that end road happen where we can like actually get my candle in their shop. And another thing that I found that was really hard is that my candle, it's like such a product that is easily made. Anybody can make a candle. I firmly believe that. Not everybody can make a good candle, but anybody can make a candle. And when there's so many local candle makers or local makers, and especially when we're sourcing a lot of the same products, somebody is really sinking their teeth into like my story or my marketing or my why, it really just kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And that was a really hard lesson that I learned very early on. And I'm glad that I learned that lesson because that allowed me to know and expand my horizon on, I also really need to diversify my bottom line and where that bottom line is made up of, not just to be completely in the wholesale bucket. So that is one of the reasons why I firmly believe that wholesale is very important. I'm going to talk about it a bit more, but it's not everything. And I have to keep my direct to consumer and my point of sale and my markets and everything going and keeping that engine burning, keeping that revenue stream going, because otherwise it's going to be extremely cutthroat and it is going to take a lot of time and energy for me to sink my teeth into the wholesale world. Also, something to consider if you're kind of like on the fence right now of like, okay, do I just strictly shape my business to go wholesale? It's completely able to be done. There are a lot of businesses that are only wholesale businesses where they make a product, they sell said product to brick and mortar or retailers, just simply, they're kind of like the middleman. We love our product, we believe in our product, but we want you to be the forum in which it's sold. Totally a way to do your business. For me, one of the biggest mistakes that I made very early on was how pricing my candles and working on my cost of good and my margins. My margins are definitely more profitable, obviously, everyone's would be, for direct consumer sales. I don't have a traditional like 4 times markup or anything like that. And so it makes more sense for me to put in the effort to get that direct to consumer sale as opposed to more wholesale right now. You know, maybe down the line, I'll have different collections or different lines of products that are candle based or other products in general. And hopefully my margins will be more in favor and more suitable for wholesale sales. I do make money on wholesale sales, but it really is just kind of like money in, money out type of transition and transaction. Whereas with my direct to consumer sales, I'm actually able to take those profits and do something with them, i.e. have an employee, pay myself at the end of Q4, things like that. And make donations to a cause that is near and dear to my heart and to our mission and to our why. And those are just some of the reasons that I wanted to add some context and my little weight behind why, if you are on the fence of considering, should I go all wholesale? Should I stay direct to consumer? I'm thinking of going one way or the other, or maybe you're just on the fence of like, should I be doing both still? I think it's really important to think of. Another thing that I wanted to share with you guys is my online sales. I talked about it briefly at the beginning of this. So my online sales were made up of two different sources of revenue, meaning e-commerce sales where people would just go directly to my website, they would purchase something, I would either ship it or they would come and pick it up. Or the other was point of sale sales. I know that's redundant, but stick with me. Point of sale sales are like where I have my like card reader, I'm at markets, maybe they come to my shop, we're doing a little pop-up event, whatever that might be. It's where somebody comes, like I'm in person, we're doing the transaction, I'm swiping their credit card. I found this very interesting. This is something that I'm kind of like weighing now of like what 2023 is, even though I'm like 3 months in, I probably should have this figured out, but it's been a rough start to the year. Let's just be honest. But what I'm finding is that out of that 68% that I did of online sales, e-commerce, and point of sale, 44% of those were from markets and point of sales. So those were transactions where like I was present, I was setting up shop, I was hosting something. I was the person that was swiping the credit card. And so that is really fruitful information for me because 56%, obviously to weigh that, came from online sales, which is still a really strong and healthy number and something that I'm incredibly proud of. That means that my email campaigns, my social media marketing, things that are driving people to add to cart are working. But I'm really gonna have to find a way that maybe if I don't wanna like feel so burnt out at the end of last year into this year, I need to find a way to balance out that 44% of point of sale sales. Because that was a lot of legwork. That was a lot of time and energy. That was a lot of behind the scenes work of like packing up the car, setting up shop, having hands on deck to like get the events taken care of and make sure that we have enough coverage. And it's just a lot of expense at the end of the day that we're still going to do it, but in a lot of my videos, I've mentioned that last year, 2022, my goal was to say yes to everything. I wanted to do as many markets as I could. I wanted to do as many events as I could. If I could fit it in the schedule, I was going to say yes to it, and I wanted to try and make it happen because I wanted to collect enough data to make decisions now for my future self to be like, yep, that event was worth it. Nope, that event's probably not worth it. And start to come up with a strategic plan of where upside was really going to divide and conquer and show up and really like show up to this like with a magnifying glass and make the most of it. So I'll just run through those numbers again because I feel like that was all just like a lot of information, and digest it how you will because your business is obviously going to be apples and oranges to mine. But I do think it's really important proof to the pudding of what I'm doing here, and hopefully you can kind of marinate on this information and apply it to like what your passion is and what your like energy level is and what you're trying to do with your business. So out of my entire revenue, total sales last year, 68% was online sales, point of sales, 2% was custom, 30% was wholesale. Out of that 68% that I did of online sales, 44% of that was done at in-person events, markets, so on and so forth. 56% of that was done at online sales. Simply give me enough proof for me to really sit down and map out a course of action that I would be silly to ignore and just go straight for all wholesale, especially given the type of product that I have in the industry that I'm in. There's always going to be local candle makers. There's always going to be somebody popping up. There's always going to be somebody down the street that can skip the shipping, those sort of things. I don't have an extremely kitschy item or novelty item that can't be found anywhere else. And so keeping that in mind doesn't mean that I'm not going to fight tooth and nail to go and get more wholesale accounts. It definitely is a strategic thing that I am planning on and will not give up on because I'm like a dog with a bone on those things. But it is something that I've now become a bit more realistic in my goals on. And I know my mental health and my brain space, it's really hard to get a lot of no's. For instance, I even went to a town 45 minutes away last Tuesday, and I went into, I think, 3 different boutiques and shops there, introduced myself, said hello, had really great conversations with them. It's been crickets so far. One just said thanks. So even geographically, I'm pretty close to them, have a really nice quality product, and I'm still working. One of the big accounts that I got just last December, I had worked almost the 2 entire years that I was on business to get. So wholesale is definitely a marathon. It's not a sprint. Just sharing this not to discourage, just sharing this to paint a very clear picture. I don't know, guys, what do you think about wholesale versus online sales? Where are you headed? What has worked for you? What is not working for you? What questions do you have? Leave them all in the comments below. You know I love those. They give me nice juicy topics and hints on what I can make other videos on. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Definitely a lot of rambling, definitely a lot of numbers and insight, but hopefully it was something that was fruitful for you that you can take and apply to your train of thought and your strategic plan as you go forward with your business. Guys, if you haven't yet subscribed, I would absolutely love it if you could do so to show some support to this channel. And of course, the 30 for 30s are always there. $30, 30 minutes. You just contact me, you let me know, we set up a Zoom, we talk about all the things that keep you up at night, and hopefully you can get some sleep. My name is Ashley. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Is it for us?